Welcome everybody to Planetary Gig Talk Live. This is Jefferson Glassie right here, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gigs Society, whose mission is creating unity through music, or as I like to say, making connections through music with the intention of bringing peace. And this is part 3 of our fabulous series of conversations on Ho'oponopono and music. And this one is titled How Ho'oponopono Can Enhance the Creative Process for Artists and Musicians. And once again, stellar panel of musicians, wonderful thinkers. First of all, Grammy Award winning musician, percussionist for Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, Roy Futureman Wooten. Roy, always so good to see you.
Man, it's so good to be here for this trilogy right here. I like it. I'm just honored that you asked me to do this. Thank you.
Oh, honored that you're here doing this. And then our Guitar Monk, who has been recording Ho'oponopono music with Joe Vitale, author of the book Zero Limits about Ho'oponopono. Down in Texas, he's survived the winter storm. We're glad you're with us, Mathew.
Yeah, great to be here. Great to see you guys. Looking forward to it all week long. So I look forward to what we discuss.
Yeah, and great friend, musician, artist, illustrator, Patricia Raine. Thank you very much, Patty, for being here. So,
absolutely. Very happy to be here.
So if anybody is interested in the first 2 parts, if you missed them, they're on the Planetary Gigs website, they're on YouTube, on Facebook Live, on Facebook, the Planetary Gigs Society page. But we talked a lot about a lot of different things. And just to sort of set the scene, Ho'oponopono is a Hawaiian spiritual practice. Patty and Roy and Mathew also talked about more of the history in those prior conversations, but it really kind of came into the popular knowledge through the book Zero Limits by Joe Vitale with Hugh Len, who sort of coined the 4 phrases of Ho'oponopono that we know. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Come to find out there's a bigger history about that. And it didn't really connect with me that there was a connection with music until I went to Victor Wooten's Spirit of Music camp at Wooten Woods, and Roy was there and Victor was there, and there were sessions about Ho'oponopono at this music camp. So that's why we are exploring this a little bit further, and really interested to see what everybody has to say about this, because, you know, artists and musicians all could use some enhancement of the creative process no matter where you are. So Patty, this was kind of your idea. So you want to talk about a little bit about what you were thinking about in terms of this, and then we'll just, you know, kind of keep talking like we have been.
Nice.
Well, the premise of this for me always is with a creative process, with anyone, musicians, artists, anyone who's doing anything creatively, the muse visits. The muse, in the past it was called the muse visiting. You get an impulse, you get a creative impulse, creative idea, a concept arises, and you want to fulfill that concept, whether musically, artistically, whatever. And in order to fulfill that concept, you have to clear away everything and focus and let it be actualized. And in order for that to happen, you have to be really in alignment with yourself and understand that that impulse of the creative idea is for you. Because if it's not for you, you will not be able to actualize it, and you won't be able to actualize it well. So it goes from theory to application, and there's a big gaposis in between. You know, and the idea of something like Ho'oponopono is that it, as it's being an untie right, it's a stress reducer. It unties you from any kind of stress or thoughts like doubt, familial judgment, or societal judgment, whatever that you may have roiling around in there, which causes you to thwart your own creative process. So something like Ho'oponopono comes along and says, okay, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And you're doing that, and you're literally creating a channel for yourself to actualize what is for you. You're following your own bead. You're following your own impulse. It's subjective, and you're trying to give it an objective quality. Bringing it, when you bring it to actualization with music, you write it down on the page. You have an orchestra, you have instruments, you use the instrument of your voice, and you bring it to fruition. And sometimes the concept and sometimes the actual thing matches your original concept, sometimes it doesn't. And even when it doesn't match, that's when you have to use something like Ho'oponopono and say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, to allow yourself not to feel any frustration, frustration around the fact that they don't quite match.
Mm-hmm.
So it allows you to not judge yourself in any way, shape, or form. That is, you're saying, there's no judgment. I'm putting this out. Now I'm going to fine tune. And so you keep that channel open to fine tune it and fine tune it. And then what happens is that not only can you match the original concept, but you go beyond the original concept.
Right.
So the
The
whole
rainbow. The
yeah,
rainbow.
right. The rainbow, right. So the whole idea with anything, and I've had this frustration, as do many artists, musicians. I have an idea and I want to put it down, and it doesn't match. And so I have to keep at it and keep at it and keep at it. And that is an act of self-forgiveness. Always. You're always saying, I'm human, I'm a human being, I have certain skills, but they're not finely tuned enough at this point or for this concept or whatever. That's when you find out whether the concept is for you or not. It's interesting too that creativity in Jung's parlance, and Van Gogh and all these artists, they considered creative people to be kind of mad. There's a little bit of madness, a little bit of madness. Yeah. And so you basically, when you're focused like this and trying to get a project done and trying to realize something, you have to forgive that concept as well, and go to what's kind of like a divine madness, which is you're in the groove, man. You are in the groove, and nothing can stop you. Nothing can stop you until you finish, or to your satisfaction, your subjective satisfaction. What is your, concept?
Yeah.
Wow. Divine madness. Does that resonate with you, Matthew?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I guess maybe this is like maybe a funny side note, but I always consider, well, I don't consider myself, I am a one-man shop, which means I record, I produce, I edit, I master, I make the web page. I say I'm the CEO who is at the top and takes the garbage out at the end of the day. It's just me.
And
but
fix
I do
water pipes.
Yeah, but I find myself, and part of that is probably, I know sometimes it's probably a little bit of a control issue because I want things done exactly how I want them done, and unless I meet somebody that can, provide that for me. I mean, if Rick Rubin wants to work with me, I'm here, buddy. Come on, let's step up. But I find that going right brain to left brain so fast, because as I'm trying to lay down a track and turn around and check levels, check EQ, check verb, and do all of that, sometimes I go down and can't figure out how to open up the cupboard drawer because my brain is just like, you've been going back and forth too fast. I have to get a balance, you know. So I guess that's the madness part of art at times, when you're kind of going flying solo per se.
But you not only do music about Ho'oponopono, sort of Ho'oponopono music for lack of a better term, but you use Ho'oponopono in creating the music. It's part of the foundation of what you do, is from what you've said before.
Yeah, and let me just wing this here. I guess in order to really draw this back into the arts, you know, specifically music for us, because that's where we're at, but all arts, you know, it's pretty known that your thoughts create your reality, right? That's kind of a common concept. Everybody's said it in a different way. Where Ho'oponopono goes is what creates the thought, and that's where you get into the data. So you drop into the subconscious or the super subconscious, and cleaning that out helps clean those thoughts come back up, so that if you're following inspiration, that's where your creativity starts to, the muse, as you called it, it flows through, and you create something, and it resonates with somebody else. Maybe it makes one person's day better. And I get emails, not all the time, but consistently, where people say, I listen to this. I got one the other day. He's like, I'm a mailman. I walk, I listen to your music all day long, and it just makes my day.
Oh, that's great.
Nice.
That's all I want to hear.
Yeah.
And you know, that's the most beautiful thing I could possibly hope for at this point. One man out there, earbuds in, listening to music, doing his job, and feeling good. I played my part in the symphony.
You brought some peace to the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like how you talked about how, you know, how it relates to different people and you don't know how it's going to relate. I'm just echoing when I met Dr. Hugh Lin. It was just, for me, it was really inspiring because he just kept saying, as you get better, the people listening to you get better, your fans and stuff like that, who you affect get better as you get better. And it's like a dream almost. And
it's because, I don't want to
yes,
cut you off, but
no, please.
I do want to say, because I had the same experience, it's because the way we're raised in society, we think that the past is the past and it's solid. And it's not.
It not.
Present changes the past. So as you change the present, the past changes. Right?
Yes.
Doesn't sound right. Sounds hocus pocus, but
I want to have a big sign in my studio saying the past is porous.
Porous.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna echo that with a thought, because I hear a lot of people say facts. That's just a fact, right? And even facts are porous, because now let me just throw it. I'm in Ho'oponopono mode, right?
Yeah.
I'm in a car, I honk my horn, and I pass you on the porch. Boom, and I got a recording of it, and my horn doesn't bend. You on the porch hear me go by, and you hear my horn bend.
Yeah.
Fact. I got a fact. Right, well, check it out. But from our perspective, if I don't know anything about the Doppler effect, we're just in an argument. I'm just like, yo, dude, man, fact. My horn doesn't bend. Here's my tape, man. We go to King Solomon, we go to the judge. Here's my tape. Then he produces his tape at the same time. We got two facts.
Yeah.
We got two facts. Now, this, that, and the third.
They're both
right.
real.
This, that, and the third. A lot of times the truth. What if there can be two? How many can there be?
Infinite.
How many perspectives, man? That's two facts. So I believe I'm echoing what you're saying. Ho'oponopono is saying, man, this thing that you're looking at is plasticity to it. You know, it's kind of like if you look at the protons, they act one way. If you don't look at them, they act like they want to act. You know what I mean? Like the wave acts like a wave or it acts like a dot, depending on if you're looking at it. You know, and so I think Ho'oponopono is talking like that. And then when we're working with Ho'oponopono, Dr. Hugh Lin kept talking about these super higher parts of ourself. It's almost like we're the puppet people down here, but we're connected to a power source. And the higher you go, the power source is powering everybody. You know, we're all connected at a higher level. So it's like, I'm starting to see, wow, if I have an idea, you know, like you have your idea and the mailman says, man, I am just resonating with that, right? So sometimes I have an idea, like I've been working on this idea because I'm doing a project, which is just a gift to the country. It's just a gift, simple gifts. We're gonna do music that just talks about America in a way that you didn't never thought about it before, right? And so in one of the sections that I've got, I'm mixing the national anthem and the Negro national anthem.
Oh,
and
great.
Right, but I'm drawing on
national anthem. Sorry.
Huh?
I said I didn't even know there was a Negro national anthem.
Exactly. Well, I'm drawing on what I didn't know.
I'm excited to hear that.
Right. I remember when I didn't know there was. And I said, Mom, why do we need two anthems? She said, well, the country doesn't all the way live up to the anthem that they got there. So Black people have their own anthem. The words are written by James Weldon Johnson. Long story short, I saw a way where I could put them together, and they're like point and counterpoint.
Oh,
now,
great.
To me, this is original idea, but just last night, I'm listening to NPR. What's her name that does the interviews? And she's interviewing
Terry Gross.
Piano.
Terry Gross. Terry Gross.
Yeah, she's interviewing the piano band leader for the Colbert Show. He's got like an animation out right now. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. What's his name?
And he,
the bald guy.
Yeah. Anyway,
he's wonderful. He's wonderful. He does the keyboards. Oh God.
Yeah, I just can't think of his name right now. But he literally had a whole thing where he's talking about
Jean
Baptiste, right? Right. But I recorded it. He literally is talking about where he mixes the national anthem and the Negro national anthem together. So I'm like, okay, we just tuned. I've been working on this for a long. Right. So what I'm saying, but no, if I do it, nobody's going to do it the way I'm doing it. But because mine's an epic, mine's like a Gesamtkunstwerk. It's like a epic thing. But just the fact that he heard how the melodies go. You got to really be listening to hear how those melodies go together. And he heard it, you know what I mean? And he was able to play it. So I was like, okay, I'm tuning into something. And when somebody else is doing it, it's validation. Like, oh, okay. Same thing with Hamilton, the play Hamilton, the hottest thing on Broadway. I've been mixing classical music and hip hop. I've been going to hip hop for my for my narration. The narrators are hip hop artists. I've been doing this for a while. And then Hamilton came out and it validated the idea. You know what I mean? It's like, wow. So Ho'oponopono is like, when you're tuning into something, it seems like you're going to be all alone, like Joseph Campbell says, but then you end up meeting the whole world. And Ho'oponopono is taking us on that kind of journey where like Dr. Hugh Lynn said, we practice Ho'oponopono here, and it was shown that a pregnancy on another part of the world was being made easier because you were practicing here. You know what I mean? So I'm starting to hear that. You did your music, he did his music here, and the mailman is like grooving over here. And so I feel like there's this butterfly effect going on with our art. And to me, this whole thing is drawing us to the idea of zero limits, the title of the book Joe Vitale did about Dr. Hugh Lynn, because Ho'oponopono is saying, even the past is plasticity. You know what I mean? You can change the past depending on how we're dealing with it today. You know, how are you forgiving what happened? If we forgive enough, maybe we can say this, we can see this, that, and the third, where this and that go together, like the Doppler effect. I got this, you got that because you're standing over here, so you got another effect. We both got facts, but facts are not enough. When I realized that, I was like, oh, okay, even facts are not enough. Facts remind me of religions. You know what I mean? They're both right. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
I was gonna say,
the
go
thing
ahead.
I run into is, and I'm now more acceptant to it, is that kind of like the concept of your composition of putting the, what was it called? The black.
Yeah, the Negro National Anthem.
Negro, sorry, Negro.
It's quite
Yeah,
stirring.
Yeah.
never know what to
Yes.
say.
Yeah.
But
That's what it was called then.
yeah, and the idea is, I was at a concert once in a very small hall watching Arlo Guthrie, and he was talking about a conversation he had with Dylan. And he said, Dylan said, the songs are just flying by up here. And you just got to reach up and just grab one.
Wow.
And of course,
Right.
Arlo said, I don't think the same songs are flying over my head. but they are. And so the thing that I'm coming to task with now and trying to accept is that it seems like on this platform that we're dealing with as our conscious reality, we have to deal with segregation first immensely. Then we try to bring segregation back in still and get it equal. And then my hope is I'll be around long enough to see it kind of unified. And at that point, let's go to the next level, Does that make sense? Or did I
I
go
think
way
so.
out?
You talking about literal segregation?
Well, just the idea that I see a lot of things that are just, I fully support and I believe in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as I stand back and I'm not a part of it, I'm an observer.
Yeah.
I see the segregation that it causes. And this is in all the causes. It seems like every cause, no matter what it is, whether it's LGBTQ or it's a Black or, just
Male,
women's
female.
rights or anything, just go down the list. It seems like you can kind of see that we have to bring it to the forefront so that everybody just recognizes and goes, you know what? Yeah, that's wrong. A lot of us over here already know it's wrong. But there's a little segregation that happens between there. And I'm hoping that the outcome is, like, I was always impressed in Star Trek that everybody was happy, except of course you have to have a villain. So then you got the Klingons,
Well, it's like classic prejudicial, prejudice.
Mm-hmm.
What you want is post-judice.
Oh.
Mhm.
Is
You
that
want
a thing?
post-judice, where you're not so judgmental about the other that you literally supplanted all the feelings of your forebears, whatever they are, however they felt. You've supplanted it with your own feelings, which are subjective feelings of there is a whole group of people that really do want to get along.
Yeah.
There's a whole group of people who do not want to get along. They want to fight.
And I guess my point too is going back to what Roy was doing and seeing that somebody else was doing it. It's not that somebody else was doing it. It's that we're all doing it. I mean, maybe I didn't have that idea, but you were on that wavelength.
Yeah.
And so was this guy on whatever TV show or whatever.
Yes.
And kind of going back to Dylan, they're flying over there. You just got to grab them.
Yeah.
I didn't grab it. I didn't know. But you did, he did. And that's the unity concept. That's the Aka chord. That's the thing. And when you go back to Ho'oponopono, it really comes down to just one. It's the I, it's the one. That's it. It's a difficult concept to wrap your brain around, but
it's not a difficult concept. Oh, I was going to say for a lot, because Akhenaten had that concept. One, Akhenaten, that was thousands of years ago. The concept of one, unity, that is, and what I was saying earlier, that is,
one in a million gets it.
True, but people are I think they're true. And you see people, that's why I say people who want to fight and people who don't, who want to really get along and really understand each other.
Yeah.
The people that want to understand each other are saying, we're really in this together. We are really in this together. You're, as you say, grabbing things out of the air. The people over here want to communicate, do not judge themselves as harshly as the people who don't. There's shame over here. There's not that shame over here.
Yeah, and the thing that I want to add is that what I like Roy's outlook, which is kind of talking about Hamilton and how you were already doing that.
Yeah.
That's the positive reinforcement. When something hits like that and resonates with the world, you kind of go, you know what? Good, I was right. I'm on the right path.
Yeah, I'm on the right
I'm
path.
gonna integrate these two songs, and you go on and you see, I'm integrating these two songs. I heard it too. I got ears.
Yeah.
You're like,
yeah,
good.
yeah,
It works.
yeah, exactly.
Yes, it's
Some
not.
people, but going back to what you were saying, Patty, some people want to fight. They want to be like, no, that was my idea first.
Right.
I did that. Blah, blah, blah.
It's not an occasion for competition. When you see someone doing the same thing that you've got in your mind, you think eureka, you've got something, and you're encountering it out there, and it's already being done. It's not an occasion for competitive thought.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the occasion for, as you said, Roy, for collaborative thinking.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
we're in the age of cooperation versus corporation.
Right.
Ooh, I'm gonna write that one.
This is the age that we're in now. When we learn to do that, I mean, Greg Braden talked about it so good. And he was talking to the host, and the host was saying, wow, I grew up in my banker attitude where it's like survival of the fittest. And I started my podcast, and these people are asking me to come on their podcast, and I think they're competition, but they're like, dude, come on, we're going to promote your thing. And he was just like, wait a minute, we just cooperate and everybody wins bigger. It's like, he said, it flies against everything that I was taught. Like, I'm supposed to have my thing. And it's like, no, we're in a different reality, man. So it's like, just to echo what I was saying about when I heard John Baptiste talking about those two songs, I'm doing more than those two songs, because I'm mixing the way my grandmother and them sang it. I'm mixing this, I'm mixing folk songs, I'm mixing like all kinds of stuff you wouldn't expect. But he talked about those two things so beautiful. And that's a gem inside of it. That's like a cornerstone gem inside of, it's almost like that mourner's prayer inside of those 14 steps. It's like a little gem inside of a whole thing, but it just validates. It's like, wow, here's another guy. And the way he talked about it was so beautiful. Like, I could echo, and like, we can go, yeah, man, we were tuning into this thing, So I want to echo something, again, echoing the fact that you said some people want to fight and some people don't want to fight. But reality is tricky. And that's what Dr. Hugh Lynn said. Our minds are like a little 2-bit computer, and the universe is like super gigabits and trigabits going on, right? And so our little mind is trying to prejudge stuff that we have no idea. We look through the trees and see the moon and think the moon is going through the trees. It's like, no, dude, that's not really what's happening, right? Right? So some people want to fight and some people don't want to fight, but your prejudice makes you fight. Because if I'm driving my car, I honk my horn, I know it doesn't bend. This guy on the porch is telling me I got a whammy bar on my horn. I'm like, either that guy is lying, dude, you're lying, man. You see what I'm saying? It's setting up a fight. You know what I mean? We getting ready to go to blows, man. You telling me my horn did that? I'm telling you it didn't do that. So I like, dude, I ran a tape recorder. Here's my tape. He says, well, I ran one too. And then we realized, oh, okay, it's this, that, and the third. Ho'oponopono. We got another look at this thing.
The third
you can
way.
look at the thing. Yeah, and if there's 3, Ho'oponopono, maybe there's a whole bunch of different ways to look at the past, present, and the future with a Doppler effect, understanding something going on. To me, that's what we're dealing with. So
it's
sometimes we're drawn into the fight by our prejudice.
But that's it.
But
that's it. That's what I was trying to say, post-judice. And what you're talking about is the third way, which is classic Buddhism.
Yes.
That's why Buddhist thought is so, there's suffering. Stop your suffering. And part of your suffering is that you're constantly opposing the thing rather than supplanting it or going around it.
Yeah. So like if you look at my hand, right? it looks like this and that, right? It looks like I'm going backwards and forth. But if I go over here, I'm just going one direction. I'm just doing that. From this, I'm just going in this direction. But if I go to the side, it looks like I'm going tick tock back and forth. And that's how truth is playing with us a lot of times like that. Okay, so I'm doing this right here. From my direction, I'm going clockwise. But if you're on the other side, I'm going counterclockwise. See what I mean?
Sure.
See what I'm saying? Truth is playing with us like that all the time. And that's what Ho'oponopono, I feel like, is dealing with. And so I want to just say one more thing that Patty said in the very beginning. A lot of times when we're approaching our authenticity and we're creating and we have to clear stuff out of the way, some of the stuff we have to clear our way is our own prejudice against what we're doing. We're trying to judge it as it's coming out.
That's it.
And so for artists that are listening to this, I'm saying one way to get yourself out of the way is just hit the record button before you do anything. You know what I mean? It just hit the record button. Because a lot of times if you wait to hit the record button when you think something's worth recording, it's going to mess up the vibe. So you just got to record and let it go and just go. Because even the consciousness of stopping, saying, oh, this is kind of cool. Let me hit record. Even that right there is too much time. You know, you want to get your ego out of the way. Yeah.
I was going to say, with my artwork and with my music, I keep everything, all the notes, all the scribbles, all the mistakes. I have an entire file of crap that I looked at, oh, the crap file. I look back and say, oh, it's part of the process. It's messy. It's ugly. It's
like
it's
dirt.
All those things that I fear in the creative process. So a lot of people don't even dive into the creative process. That's why I was saying at the beginning, something like Ho'oponopono would be helpful because it's a nanosecond by nanosecond forgiveness process. And all the time you're literally, sliding through and you're avoiding your doubt. You're not opposing it. You know it's there, but you're not opposing it. You know your fear is there. You know it's there, but you're not opposing it. You're just going right by it. And you're doing it anyhow.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
right. There's the artist.
Hugh Len talked about, and I know Matthew has mentioned Ho'opono, you call it cleaning, and you have a Ho'oponopono cleaning Facebook group, I think, Matthew. And so what is this term cleaning? Well, the way I think about it is this: if you're thinking to yourself, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, you have a gratitude, you're apologizing for things that might have happened in the past, you're expressing love, you're kind of getting rid of all that junk in a way, and giving a clean slate, if you will, for the thoughts, for the muse to arise. Eckhart Tolle talks about thoughts just come up, and it's really the ones that you accept, that you act on, you kind of decide. But in terms of then in music, it's kind of really with a clean slate, you're really more yourself. You're not all these other fake things. You're not perceiving your separation from this. You're not judging. You're not judging yourself. You're just seeing what's open. And this reminds me of, I don't know if you probably know Kenny Werner, who wrote the book Effortless Mastery.
Yeah.
And he talks about his whole thing, and it's a great book. He also he teaches at Berkeley, and he has a forum that they do a lot of Wednesday evenings, and you can go and it's free and whatever. But he talks about relaxing, getting in a place and just playing from the space, playing music from the space, so that you're just watching your hands play, and I know Roy Victor has talked about, sometimes it just feels like music is playing you. You're just sitting back and watching it, not even knowing what you're doing. And so if somebody is learning to play, writing songs, creating some art, if you're cleaning, and Ho'oponopono is a technique, and it could be an expanded technique, as Patty's talked about, you're kind of aligning with that frequency. You're opening up, and when you put intention behind that, that's a pretty powerful thing, seems.
Yes.
I was going to say to your point, Jeff, In the Tao Te Ching, it says, be a pattern for the world. Be a pattern. And the only way you can find your own pattern is to do the deep dive and do the fearful thing and do the frustrating thing and do the only way you can find your own pattern is to say how you navigate these dicey waters of doubt and fear. And
I'm sorry, that's totally data driven. That completely conflicts with the Ho'oponopono concept.
what conflicts?
What you just said.
What part?
You can't tell somebody what their path needs to be in order to get to where they're supposed to be.
Oh, no. I
You
said,
can't say that you have to dive deep.
No, I'm not talking about telling someone. I'm talking about when you be a pattern for the world, in so doing, in your own subjective way, using things like Ho'oponopono, you can navigate your own fears, your own doubts, your own everything, and find your pattern.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood you then.
Yeah, no.
You said you have to dive deep and you have to go to this point. It's
No.
some do, and it's true.
No, my description has to do with the creative process. When you sit down and you start to create, you're diving deep, and it's your own process, and there's nobody around to tell you to do anything.
Right. Okay.
It's your
That
own.
makes sense to me.
It's a subjective event,
Mm-hmm.
and in the totality of your subjectivity, that's where you find your pattern, and your pattern is what relates between you and source.
Connection.
Yeah, your connection.
Yeah.
And you oh my gosh, it's really stunning when you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, techniques like Ho'oponopono can
The
help.
moment you know you're in it, you're out.
Exactly.
At least in my experience, and I'm always like,
It's like, boy, was that fun, and then you start reminiscing.
yeah, I want to go back. I want to go back.
Well, Roy, you've that group that you've been with, Bela Fleck and the Flecktones. I mean, sometimes I was talking to a friend and he said, those guys, they were like aliens. They weren't really humans. How were they doing that? And, you're not reading sheet music or anything. You're just sort of in the moment with some other folks playing. How does that relate? Those kind of experiences of playing music like that with other people, and it just flows.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of like Steve Jobs says, sometimes when you look back on your life, it unfolds like a novel. It makes sense looking back than when you're actually doing it. But one of the themes with Bela Fleck and the Flecktones is everybody was pushing their instrument, just pushing the instrument further than it had ever gone before. So like with Bela with the banjo, playing open chords on the banjo, he wants to play like Chick Corea. He ended up playing with Chick Corea. You know what I mean? They have dates for 2020. They're supposed to go back on the road, not this year, next year. But Chick Corea just passed away. But what I'm saying is Ho'oponopono, it's like we were all pushing our instruments in some kind of way. Reality pushed us together, and we all pushed our instruments in one band. You know what I mean? Like Vic's playing the bass, all these new techniques. Like Bela one time called what Vic was doing gimmicks. I was like, Bela, man, these are not gimmicks, man. These are just techniques you haven't seen before. It looks like it's the circus, but these are techniques that people are going to be doing. These are fundamental techniques. Gimmick is not the right word. And now you can see that that's so. Tapping on the bass, thumping, da-da-da-da. Howard's taking a blues harmonica. It doesn't even have the notes on it that he's getting it. And he figured out how to hit these overblows to make it go into falsetto notes and get all the notes on the harmonica. I'm playing the drums in my hands electronically. See what I'm saying? It's all like intention coming together. It's like, wow, if I saw that in a movie, I wouldn't expect that to happen like that. But that's what happened, right? So Ho'oponopono, again, what we did too as a band, we made a wish list. See what I'm saying? We actually sat down and wrote a wish list, what we'd like to achieve as a band. You know what I mean? Like we wanted to go to the Grammy Awards. We wanted to not only go to the Grammy Awards, we want to win the Grammy. We want to win, we want to do all the television shows. We want to do the Tonight Show was Johnny Carson at the time when we got started. We want to do the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. We did Johnny Carson at least twice, maybe 3 times with Johnny Carson.
So cool.
See what I'm saying? These
No
are just
limit.
like wishes coming true. So Ho'oponopono is like we're getting back to zero limits now. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? To me, in the title, Zero Limits is sort of saying like that. And then what is your imagination saying to you? Where is it that you go with your imagination? You know, for me, I'm doing classical music, but my narrator, you know what I mean, are going to be hip hop artists, the poets of today, right? Because you don't just have to talk about this subject. You don't just have to talk about your neighborhood. You could talk about the universe, because the spoken word is universal. What if I mix that narrator, you know what I mean, with this classical music, and let this classical music really just go, right? And then Hamilton kind of did it. You know what I mean? It's not so much classical music the way I'm doing it, but it's like they use hip hop for the narrator, you know? And I was like, okay, somebody tuned into it, and look how it resonated. See what I'm saying? So it's like, wow, you know, we're on this journey, but I think Ho'oponopono is kind of like, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Now it's your imagination. Where are you trying to go? Okay, a lot of people, we're just trying to get our bills paid. You know what I mean? Trying not to get sick, right? No, but what would you do with your life if you knew you couldn't fail? You know? And so to me, when Patty talks about that deep dive, it's like, wow, we're going on this journey, and it gets deeper and it gets deeper. Wow, we understand the blade of grass, we understand electricity, we understand the ethers, we understand stuff more than we knew before. And so I feel like going back to, some people want to fight and some people are drawn into a fight because we're prejudging with our little bit of information. You know, we got a little pinhole looking at reality, right? So for people to get along, right? We talk about peace. I keep going back to music, because in music, the symphony of brotherhood is like the symphony for me. The French horn is a different nationality than the trumpet. The trumpet is different than the flute. The flute is different than the clarinet. The clarinet is from a different nation than the percussion. The percussion is different than the harp. You got the piano, right? These are all people, right? And you got to learn to talk to all of them. So
They're getting along.
we're trying, right? But check this out. So if I just want everybody to hit C on the piano, and I try to write that C on their music, and I don't know the laws of transposition, I just created a mess, because I don't know the art, right? Right? Life and art, there's an art to this, right? There's an art to not being able to get into conflict, or to being able to use conflict and to be able to use the differences of the brotherhoods and the nations out there. Because a lot of people say, well, I don't see color. Well, look, if I'm orchestrating, man, I hear that the French horn is different than the trumpet. Yeah, I've got to see the differences. You know what I mean? Because the differences is the bouquet. This is what we're painting with. So I feel like the laws of music show so political things too. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, what you're talking about, the arts. In the arts, this is the epitome of what in society is called democratic government. Democracy is collaborative.
Yes.
And democracy is inclusive.
Yes.
It does not exclude. It does not keep people from the table. It takes in all points of view. As you said, the orchestra has to play together. Each one has a contribution to make: the brass, the woodwinds, the strings, which are the foundation. The strings are our indigenous peoples. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you know, this is the foundation of the orchestra. So the idea is, this is democratic principles. Come to the table. Let's talk about these difficult things. Let's talk about these facts. Facts cannot be canceled. Factual things cannot be canceled. They just need to be put where they belong, like in museums.
The right perspective.
Yeah, do not exalt. Do not exalt certain people. Do not exalt certain. Put them where they belong. Let's talk about it and put it where it belongs. Mm-hmm. And reflect on this thing, that what human beings are capable of, you know?
Yeah, yes,
so,
yes.
And when they've lost their own sense of creativity, as you say, but they've lost their own sense of pattern and care and kindness and all of those things, nothing can be created. Nothing good can be created.
Yeah, one of the things I think about is there really aren't any mistakes, from the perspective of the universe. And so if you have that attitude, you can go to the places that, Roy's talking about, and you all are saying it's freeing to realize that. It's a little
Well,
scary, but go ahead, Matthew.
I was gonna say, what to your point, Jeff, it's freeing to realize that, but we're talking about it in sort of retrospect. But when you're in the middle of what feels like a huge mistake, when you're in the middle of it, if you are an abused woman, if you are an abused race, if you are an abused, whatever, you're going to feel that mistake acutely. And so how do you, that's what's got to be supplanted. That's what's got to be navigated. And now it's being pointed to and everything's being brought to light. And the arts are helping to bring it to light.
Yes.
The only thing you can do is your perspective on it and how you react to it. And I think Ho'oponopono helps with that too. You can be in a terrible situation, and if you can come back, center, go through these things. I mean, it may be awful, but you don't have to make it worse on yourself in a sense.
Yeah, you don't.
Yes.
It's difficult not to judge yourself in an abusive situation.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Because we have so little information, and
Right.
so I just think that I'm relating to this whole Ho'oponopono to the arts, because now it's like, even if people out there that are entrepreneurs, Seth Godin was saying, when the entrepreneur and the businessman becomes an artist, then their business can go to the next level. Like Steve Jobs, this man was an artist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was part artist, man, to make the computers not look all like square, and to make the computers feel like art. Here's to the crazy ones. Here's to the different ones. There's art in there. So even for entrepreneurs and everyone out there, when you can do whatever it is that you do, like Matt was saying, like a street sweeper, and it becomes an art form. I remember one time I saw a guy putting Cokes in a Coke machine. Pop, 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 pop. He was going so fast, it was almost like tabla drums. I was like, man, I never would imagine that you could do that to that level, right? But when you become an artist at something, then it's like I feel like you're able to kind of go to this next level and just there's just a great kind of transformation that happens, that of the gifts that you can be and that you can bring to what it is that you're doing, and seeing things at a whole different way. And so what I was driving at is, Thelonious Monk said, now you as an artist, how you feel about something is plasticity. So he said you can hit a note, and if you mean that note, it can be as small as a pen or as big as the universe. Like, you can use dynamics to where you can just bring people on a journey with your dynamics. So going back to thank you, you can just take a situation like Linda was talking about. We're going last year, man. I was supposed to be working all last year. We're here next year. Them tours still not going. But why? How can we look at that? Thank you for this opportunity I might not be able to see right now. But sometimes life throws weights at you, so it makes you work out and become a little bit more than you were before. Yes. So thank you for the opportunity. You know what I mean? I'm sorry if I just don't get it right now. I'm sorry that we hurt you, that kind of thing. And I think that you as an artist can embrace these tools and transform it and show something to yourself and us in a way that you didn't know before. And that's what it's like with music. You can take one little note, and the way you play it, you can play it so many different ways. I think reality is saying that. I honk my horn here, and people can hear it a whole bunch of different ways. Hey,
Roy, I want to say, number one, thank you for quoting Thelonious. The Sphere is my man.
Thelonious.
That is out of all my jazz love, and it's part of my name. It's part of the reason that I'm the Guitar Monk, because I'm like, I want to be monk. I do want to interject, and I kind of want to full circle back a little bit to something that Jefferson was talking about with cleaning. There's a part of cleaning when you're talking about cleaning out the subconscious mind that I think gets overlooked, which is, and this kind of falls into the law of attraction a little bit, but they all intertwine kind of a little bit. So when I clean, I'm also cleaning and I'm thinking about creating a void. Voids are the most important thing. If you do not have a void, the universe cannot fulfill what you need next. So if you're on that hamster wheel and whatever it is, and you're keeping that cycle going, there's no void. You step off the wheel, walk away, create a void, and now you get to sit back and wait for the abundance that is probably greater than what you ever could have imagined. You know, the Secret kind of taught, like, I want $1 million house, I want the love of my life, I want vacation, I want $1 million or whatever. That's kind of what I call the golden carrot. You know, yeah, that gets you enticed, and yeah, you think you want that, but that's really not the answer. You know, it's not that you're not going to get that. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, but in the end, the happiness comes from creating the void. And if you create the void, it has to be filled.
Nature loves a vacuum.
Yeah, there you go. Nature loves a vacuum. I like that.
Yeah, pandemic was a little bit of a void too.
I have to echo that because I artificially created a void, like in one of the last talks that we had, where I said I just acted like I didn't know anything. And by doing that, what I mean is, like, some people come to music and, you know, you play classical music or you play this, and you, before you know it, you get a little bit snooty. You're looking down on people, you think you know music. I think, oh, they can't play. Oh, that's attitude. You know, you got an attitude, and your attitude is just in the way for anything to come in. Right? I think I know music, right? I'm just saying, look, I don't know anything. You know what I mean? I don't know anything. And I was doing that because I'm dealing with music that's tuned to different ratios. I'm dealing with music that's tuned to the periodic table frequency. So I'm like, I gotta come like a child, man. So I'm pretending that I don't know anything. I know that I know something, but in my mind, it was like, I'm just gonna put what I know on that bookshelf right there and let it just stay there for a while. And then I'm gonna come at this blank, right? And just, it created space.
Yeah.
And because I didn't know anything, if I would have waited to record when something was happening, I would have missed it.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Because I'm playing a piano that I created. I don't know what's going on here.
And so here's something I want to ask you, Roy, if you've ever done this, or if I'm just completely insane.
Yeah.
I have gone, and it was very, very difficult because, as all of us, you know, music is our drug, and man, it's hard to not get up in the morning and just go to it, you know, not just listen, but play everything, right? So I have gone literally, I know, at least 6 months, maybe 8, without touching a guitar during COVID, because I could, only to come back to it fresh. And then I come back to it, and it's like, the knowledge is here, the music is here.
Yeah.
The technique comes back quick enough. I can get it back when I need it, you know.
Yeah, you can't forget how to write.
48 hours, I'll be back on top. But it's been beautiful. It's been so beautiful. And even now, I avoid playing what I normally play for my meditations and things like that. And I've been going out and just playing, like, just silly pop songs that are fun, that they take me 5 minutes. You go on YouTube, you look at the tabs, you could take 5 minutes. And, you know, yesterday I learned a Weezer song. I'm like, I always like that song, you know, it's fun, you know, and maybe I'll make a video of it and I'll put it over on this channel where nobody sees it, you know, it's just for me. But when I come back, then when I do sit down and it's time to create, because I had to come back about a month ago. I've got a new project coming out that I had to sit down and play. It was like, oh, it's fresh, it's inspiring, it feels good. I got myself out of that realm for a little bit.
Yeah.
And
you know, to your point, Matthew, you said, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go if you have input. I just kind of directed it to Roy because I was wondering if he had done it, but you also, you know.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, I took a break from because I usually do pop rock songs. I play every day. I have a 12 string, I've got 6 guitars. I have a dulcimer and I experiment. So lately I've been experimenting with dissonant chords higher on the fretboard and strange combinations and staying away from the organized structure of a song. And literally, I'm having what I'm calling a Joni Mitchell moment.
That sounds good.
I'm having, because what she did was she would listen to the ethers.
Yeah.
And she would listen to nature and she'd pull out her Joni Mitchell chords, which nobody could follow.
Yeah.
So she'd tune her like in, D tuning or whatever tuning. She'd do her multiple tunings. And then she'd get this really otherworldly sound. So I'm getting these otherworldly sounds on my 12 string.
Wow.
To the point of just taking a break. I completely took a break from structure.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden, the world symphony is happening.
True. And I think that's important because, I know that, Bela Fleck is not everybody's jam.
I love Bela
Fleck. I always consider you guys the musicians. When I heard it, my teacher was like, "You got to hear these guys." I'm like, "Whoa!" I'm like, "What? Is that a banjo?"
But for me,
Yeah, and look at the percussionist. To be talking to you now, 25 years later or whatever, it's like that's kind of interesting.
For me, Bela Fleck was like who's the improviser in jazz, the ultimate improviser in jazz. Starts with a C.
Charlie Parker?
No, not Charlie Parker, although he was improvisational. He was out there.
John Coltrane?
No, it's later. And I can't remember his name, but he did what
John Cage.
Yeah, John Cage too, but it's another guy.
Jazz?
But he did jazz. He did what sounds like abstract art, avant-garde. It was all avant-garde. And everybody came to listen to him. And they come to the bandstands. In fact, I was watching a jazz segment last night, Ken Burns Jazz.
Yeah.
And he talked his bassist, who I can't remember the name of, all of a sudden the guy was up on the bandstand listening to his bass because he was doing this off the wall. They were just talking to each other in this off the wall communication.
Ornette Coleman?
The guy, huh?
Ornette Coleman?
Yes, that's it. Ornette Coleman. And his bassist and Ornette Coleman, they're going back and forth. And the guy who came up on the bandstand listening to the bass, he said, "Get off the bandstand, man," was Leonard Bernstein. Because they were speaking a language that no one had heard.
Yeah. Well, and going back to Monk, my favorite thing with Monk is that.
And Monk was great.
I love the idea that when the band was rocking, even if it was just a trio, and he felt it, and he didn't have a place, he just get up and feel the music. Like, I got nothing to add here. I had that one time that happened to me in a studio session where they played me a track and I listened to it and I go, "I'll put something down if you want, but I think you guys got it."
Right. Yeah. I got a chance.
Roy, what's your input on those that crazy thought of stepping away?
Yeah, that crazy thought is nice when you're stepping away, because when I'm doing with Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, in a sense, I'm stepping away from what I know to go further into it, right? So I'm playing drums. A lot of people don't know I come from the drums, right? So when I'm playing instruments like this is a prototype, but with the Flecktones, now I'm playing these. This is the last instrument that I'm playing with the Flecktones, right? But it's nice, we got this headstock made for it, so you see my influences are going.
How many quarters you got? How many quarters are on there?
Huh?
How many quarters are on there?
These are piezo's, right? Piezo's.
I'm kidding, buddy.
At least 24 and 20, at least 48, at least 48. But it's like, by doing that, in a way, it's like I haven't left the drums, right? The drums become fresh. So when I get on the drums, it's like, whoa. So I'm getting to the drums and I literally, like, it made me want to push the drums, the acoustic drums. So I'm getting to the drums and like, because I mean, I love Pearl drums and Gretsch drums, but I needed to go to a company that could go wild with me, right? So we're pushing the drums. By the time I get to the drums, now here's an example of a drum, right? But if you look at the drum, you look how these are all fresh sticking, right? You'll see inside of this drum, it's breathing with an F hole. Instead of just a circle at the bottom, there's an F hole like a violin.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Now, these are Schleisman drums, which are normally attached from the top to the bottom with a rod that does not drill into the drum to attach it. That's unique, right? But
That's
the guy
old
that I
school.
was working with, we went further to tighten the top and the bottom with this metal string. The whole drum is tightened with this metal string. So if I squeeze the string,
Oh, that's
You
great.
Now you got a talking drum.
yes, exactly. But check it out.
Back to Africa, buddy.
I can also plug this.
Oh, that's great.
Awesome.
Wow.
Right? And I can also bow this.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, that's
Oh my
fantastic.
goodness.
Really?
Right. So I just went from not knowing anything to like I just see this the whole instrument's a whole different way. You could approach the instrument from a bow thing, like a very yin and yang, masculine and feminine approach to bow this thing. You know what I mean? And when you bow it, it's kind of cool. And then even when I do the bow, I don't have the bow here, but I can bounce the bow.
I was going to say, bounce it.
I can bounce the bow off the string.
That's what I do.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
right? I'm gonna just pretend this is a bow,
Hey,
but I can bounce the bow.
Roy, when you bow it, does the head
Yes.
resonate?
Kind of. It makes a tone.
Okay.
And the thing is, it's tricky to mic. We actually need some kind of pickup because when I do it in a room, I can hear everything. But live, the bow is soft, and I need some kind of pickup
Put
to
it
pull it out.
inside the drum, in the middle of it.
Some kind of way we need a pickup. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is like the drum set seems like it's set, but we're in a whole different territory right
You're
now.
building new drum kits.
That's so
Yeah,
cool.
it's a whole different thing right here. Like you could just literally just stay on this thing.
That's very cool.
It's just we're in a whole different realm right here. You know what I mean?
Wow. This is zero limits, isn't it?
This is zero limits. See, sometimes you gotta let go.
Way off track, don't we?
So that's my answer to you. Is like by experimenting with my fingers and stuff, I'm pushing on here, but it lets me let go of that for a minute. But I didn't let it go. It's kind of like when you come back to a bicycle, you can't forget how to ride a bicycle.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
So you
It's all up here
You
still.
get back to the bicycle and you might think of something different. You know what I mean? So it's my love for the instrument means that I never really left it, but I just created this space, you know, for the universe to break the void, right? For the universe to tell me more. I know a little bit, right? I know that I know a little bit. I just know a little bit. So let me just stop for a minute and see, can I learn a little bit here that relates to there? And it's like, we're taking a deep breath. You know what I mean? It's kind of like just, ooh, we're taking a deep breath in this journey, man. It's like, wow, okay. Wow, to create world peace, I got to learn the laws of transposition, just like in music.
Wow.
So for instruments, if this is so for instruments, how much more so for people?
It's tricky
what I'm
to get out
saying?
your own way.
String theory.
String theory,
Oh yeah,
yes.
that's a whole nother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we go into quantum theory, and I'll tell you what, man,
Quantum.
that has been my big connection with Ho'oponopono.
Yeah, quantum.
Really?
Yeah.
You want to call it quantum mechanics or quantum theory or whatever title you want to give it, you know.
Yeah,
I bet
because
You
when
start
you
looking at string theory, you start looking at the cat in the box, you start looking at how the molecules shoot, you
Right.
start looking at the
Damn,
observation concept.
And what they pick, right.
We might need an
Right.
episode. We might need an
Oh,
episode 4. We might need an episode
Yeah, now-
4 because
now this is good.
I'm
Episode
into
4
that
now. We get
too.
Yeah.
quantum mechanics. Because he said something. You start looking at how the molecules shoot, and if you
Yes.
look at them, they act different. If you don't look at them, they act like a wave. You look at them, they act.
That's the
That's why-
observation period.
That's
Yeah.
Heidegger's principle, the observation, that which is observed changes upon observation.
Yeah.
So that's the work I've been doing with my own synesthesia.
The observer
Right.
creates the object in a way.
I've
So,
read
but-
Right. So let me
recently.
just say this one thing why I got it. So that's why I was saying a lot of times with an artist, your judgment is an observer that's observing too soon. You got to let that observer step back and just hit record in the beginning. So the observer don't even need to be there. And we just can mess around. If it's messy, it is, and you can observe it later. This is a technique to move yourself out of the way that will help. So, but yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, when you get the quantum mechanics, you start listening to the Max Planck and them, and they sound like preachers.
They
They
do.
sound like
They do.
Yeah.
yeah.
Sound downright theological.
Yeah, I've incorporated some of that in my writings and things too. But anyway, we've done our hour. The bird clock came and went, and so I just wanted to know if anybody had any sort of final thoughts on this, Ho'opono enhancing the creative process concept. I wasn't sure that there was going to be an episode 4, but as soon as you start talking about quantum mechanics and stuff, we'll have to get there. But anyway, any final thoughts?
My bad.
Yeah, the next one is zero limits for real. Quantum mechanics, all bets are
Oh
off.
man, that's it.
Way to go,
Patty,
Matthew.
any-
Way to go, Matthew.
Patty, any final thoughts about the this concept? The things any final thoughts about the creative process and Ho'opono?
Sure.
Okay, what?
Well, as I was saying at the beginning, it is a process. A lot of people are loath to go into the creative process. They think the creative process is some separate, distant thing that they cannot engage in. And of course, it is something, but there's a lot of fear there because, as you were talking about zero limits, people are limited by their own judgments of what they're doing, what they're putting on the page, what they're playing, the instruments they're using, whatever. They have a lot of judgments. So just to ease back with those judgments, and you'll find your pattern, you'll find your way, you'll find your subjective reality. But and the idea is too, your subjective reality cannot supersede someone else's subjective reality. It's got to be able to collaborate in some fashion.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, just like I
But
felt
democracy, man.
right. It's
Democracy.
like a lot of times, a lot of
Yeah.
times we're collaborating and we don't even know it. Like I'm
Right.
working on the Negro National Anthem and the anthem, and my man just explained it so beautiful. He explained it better than I could say it. You know what I mean? I think I've taken it even further than he did it, but it was like so beautiful what he did just on the piano, and he explained it and expressed it so beautifully. So we're in a collaboration, and we know about each other, but we haven't even met yet. So a lot of times we're collaborating because it's like we're getting into quantum mechanics now. You hit a frequency and it's tuning up, and the tuning forks start ringing each other. And I think this is what we're doing now. We're going through COVID time, Corona, but William Henry says it's a coronation. We're being coordinated. We're in some kind of coronation here, right?
Mhm.
And without that darkness, the light can't shine so brightly. That's Sir Francis Bacon, right? So these times are for our edification, some kind of way, I believe. And in the arts that we're doing, everything is so alive, right? Even your instrument, you can say thank you to your instrument and the instrument feels it. See what I'm saying? I'm quoting Dr. Hugh Lynn now, but we're going like to Morna. They don't even look at the world the way we look at it. You think inanimate objects are just like stone and they don't exist, but he says no, they're there. They know you're there. They feel you. You can say thank you to your instrument and your instrument knows it. See what I'm saying? Thank you. I love you. Please forgive me for making these mistakes, but we're gonna learn together, right?
Yeah.
Right? And your instrument is responding. The whole life is responding. So I just want to say that I feel like everybody out there becoming an artist at whatever you're doing. Maybe you're an entrepreneur, maybe you're a businessman, maybe you sweep floors, maybe whatever you're doing, but you just becoming an artist in your life, right? Becoming more and more of an artist. And when you become that artist, that's what takes things to the next level. That's how come Steve Jobs is at the next level, because he's looking at an artist. And the artist, a lot of times, is what we remember. An artist can send a message through the sea of time. You know what I mean? That's what Sir Francis Bacon said. When you write notes to yourself, boom, you're sending a message through the sea of time. And look at so many years later, we're still listening to what Mozart wrote, right? Mozart had kings and queens. We don't even remember who the kings and queens were, right? But we were celebrating Mozart's birthday not too long ago. And I said, I wonder if anybody celebrating the king's birthday. I don't think so. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So your art, I'm just saying, has the potential to send a message through the sea of time that resonates, that continues to resonate. See what I'm saying? And it's like during your time, you might not be you might not see it during your time, but all of these times are connecting. They're all kind of connecting. And I would just say, yeah, let this whole idea of Ho'oponopono in your art and your music, to let it to become something more than what you even imagine. And so with zero limits, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Now it's like, wow, I gotta think about that. What actually would I even try to do? Right? And then try to do it and try to build yourself up to doing it. Maybe it's running a marathon. Maybe it's running 100 miles. Some people run 100 miles. See what I'm saying? Yeah. Some people climb Half Dome. What would you do? You know what I mean? What's the guy that climbed the Half Dome rock barehanded?
Oh, God.
Alex Arnold. He climbed an impossible rock. See what I'm saying? Yeah. So dream the impossible dream and let your life take you there, man. I think that's what the journey is on. And if we step into quantum mechanics next time, yeah, we'll really start to see.
Yes.
Ooh, wow. Okay.
Go, Mathew.
Mathew, you got any last thoughts for everybody?
Yeah. Let me get in here. Okay, so if you are watching this and you're an artist, obviously, the one thing I want to tell you is you can't go to school or read a book on how to be an artist. You have to do kind of what Roy was talking about, and just, even though you can gain the knowledge, but at some point you got to just let it be free. And that's a difficult thing to do because that takes self-confidence. And that's really what makes an artist, is self-confidence. It's the ability to throw yourself out there and realize that not everybody is going to resonate with it, but those who do, whether it's a mailman or not, that's all you can hope for. And if that's good enough, then you're an artist.
Wow, nice.
Bingo.
If
Okay.
I could add one
Sure
last
thing.
thought. Sometimes you just, and then you have to, sometimes you have to have the courage to try to do what it is that you see. Like when I'm just showing you these dramatards and stuff, man, when I was doing that, people thought I was crazy. What are you, just do what you know how to do. Why are you trying? What is that about? You know what I'm saying? So sometimes your idea will be so foreign that you might not have the courage to step out on there and go for it. But there's so many stories.
Courage.
Even my friend
for self-confidence. Yes.
Yeah, that self-confidence. I'm echoing what he just said, because so many great things, like my friend Carter Beaufort playing with Dave Matthews Band. He had to have the courage and the confidence to step out and step into the van with them and say, okay, we're going to go for this thing. You see what I mean? Like they were like, we think we got something. He played the tape for Ramsey Lewis. He's like, do I need to do this? And Ramsey Lewis was like, dude, this is good. You have to do this. Yeah. Will Calhoun said the same thing with Living Color. He's playing with Harry Belafonte. Harry Belafonte heard the music. He said, you have to do this. This is good, right? So it might be a mentor, someone outside yourself that helps you to find
I think you just brought up a really important point that I didn't bring up, which is, yes, and this is maybe lost a little bit in our culture, but look to your elders. And look to the elders that you can trust. Look to the elders that don't have anything to gain.
Thank you for that qualification, Mathew. Look to the elders you can trust.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. And to me, that's sort of a prelude for the quantum mechanics, because science stands on the shoulders of giants that came before, and we're just standing on shoulders. They saw this much, we stand on their shoulders, and we see a little, maybe we can see a little bit further. You know what I mean? So we're all in a big, this nice collaboration. And the elders have.
We do part 4, and it's on quantum mechanics. I'm locking my front door because I think they're going to come in and put me in a suit. So.
No.
Man, I'm trying to think of where that might go. Anyway.
Yeah, we better be careful.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Patricia Raine, Mathew Dixon, Roy Wooten, really namaste. I love you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.